Hello, my name's Angus. I'm otherwise known as @Angber on Twitter, and I am a 2012 tweep. Even before the ballot results came out, I did feel pretty lucky. I won tickets for the women's table tennis through the Visa Golden Ticket competition. I felt pretty special at the time because it meant I was pretty much one of the few people who absolutely knew they were definitely going to the Olympics. However, when the ballot tickets did come out, and I did get some, it was slightly disappointing. There was sailing, swimming heats and water polo matches, and that's it. And then as a bit of hockey and football that my dad got, I had hoped for a lot more than that. I had really hoped for AT4 or the opening ceremony, or possibly AT5 too, and probably if I'd got one of those I would never have found the tweeps. I'd have been happy with my lot. However, that didn't pan out, so I turned to Twitter. I followed a few tweeps on Twitter, or people who are now known to be tweeps on Twitter, and I could see they'd got tickets. And I'd even read the reports saying that you could get 100-metre final tickets in Germany. However, I was a little nervous, to be honest. Wasn't so sure about handing over money to just some foreign random travel company. Eventually, after seeing the successes of others, I eventually decided to go for the jump. And I started quite small scale. I went for some ground passes for Wimbledon, which are tickets I had failed to get in the ballot. However, I was still really nervous. I think I got them from the Swiss. I don't remember exactly now. But I do remember I paid entirely over the odds because I made sure I paid by credit card. I figured there was some protection that way. However, it really cranked up the value, and I think I ended up paying two face value tickets, £20 each. I think I ended up paying something along the lines of £96, which is probably one of the more impressive markups you'll get, even with horrific postage charges that some people paid for some events. But by that point, I was utterly hooked. I picked up a few more tickets for different events, mainly small scale, but they did include things like RO7, so I had the opportunity to watch Catherine Granger in gold, which was really exciting. And frankly, the games were turning out to be a brilliant thing to look forward to. However, I didn't have one of the big three, and the one I really wanted was AT4. I probably bored many people to utter tears by every tweet, every Facebook comment saying, I want AT4, I want AT4, I want AT4. And frankly, I promised my wife I'd stop buying tickets. I'd spent enough by that point that I'd stop buying tickets apart from AT4. That's the one I'd really wanted. I grew up watching athletics. My parents used to take me to the Alexander Stadium when I was a kid, and I've loved it ever since. So the opportunity to see two potential gold medals for Team GB was too much to pass up on. So I banged on about it and banged on about it. However, they just didn't appear. Well, not tickets I could afford anyway. Tweeps offered me tickets that were just way out of my price brackets, but I hung on and I hung on. And then one day, I was busy at work and I saw a message popped up on Facebook saying, there are a pair available and did I want them? Yes, that was my answer. I was so happy you couldn't believe it. However, within seconds, another message came up. The tweep whose tickets there were decided that you might want to use them for leverage for something else, and that I couldn't have them. Generally, the sense of deflation, there was a point I realised how much this had got to me. I felt so fed up, and I felt pretty angry at the tweet that had taken away from him. Not his fault, he was obviously perfectly entitled to do with his tickets what he wanted to, but boy, I was annoyed. And I drove home from work that evening. I just felt so depressed and so fed up. I was going, this is never going to happen. Even though I had such a fantastic Olympics ahead of me, I just felt, this is never going to happen. I'm never going to get to the one session I want to get to. And I was fed up, and I came in and I turned my laptop on and I flicked on Facebook, and a message that just said, they're yours if you want them. And genuinely I was shaking, I was jumping up and down, I was just unbelievably excited. I was so pleased, and all ill feeling towards that tweet disappeared within seconds. It was brilliant. I finally got it, and I promised my wife I wouldn't get any more tickets. I didn't quite live up to that story, but that's because through the tweeps I managed to get a £20 ticket for the opening ceremony, which was just incredible and so good, and so pleased with all the tweeps able to help me out getting this stuff. It was just brilliant. But on the Saturday morning, which is a Saturday morning prior to the opening ceremony, I checked a Facebook message basically saying there's a Cat D ticket for ZO if you want it. And I was like, oh come on. However, I had to wake my wife up and say, you know that promise I made you that I wouldn't buy any more tickets? I'm just going to break it one last time. Even she couldn't complain about £20 tickets to the opening ceremony. And so the games were set to begin. I had 18 tickets for 18 sessions. That was going to be a fantastic couple of weeks. By the time the opening ceremony came round, I'd already been to a couple of sessions. I'd been to FB1 and FB5, I can't remember. Well, the opening football match at Cardiff for the women's game, and then I saw New Zealand against Belarus at Coventry. So the opening ceremony was actually my third session of the games by that point. However, the excitement I felt on that night, the feeling of being at the centre of the world where all eyes of the planet were watching that night was incredible. And a couple of memories I have from that night. Firstly is actually just walking around the stadium just prior and basically spotting people in tweep t-shirts just like mine. Random people I've never met before, just go up to them, tap them on the shoulder and go, hello, and they all say, oh, hello back, and we'd introduce each other, and we'd just basically enjoy just being there. We all knew the story of how we'd got there, and the fact what a special group it had been a part of. So that was really good. Even though I had a seat on my own and didn't know anybody around me, kind of that sense of community was really special. And then the other memory I have is actually the ceremony itself, and something I've never actually heard anybody mention before, and it might have just been the part of the stadium I was sat in, but it was when the torch was being lit and the petals were rising and it was all forming. The thing that I remember more than anything is actually the silence. Everybody around was just entirely awestruck with just kind of going, this is just wonderful, this is just brilliant. Nobody said a word, it was so quiet. And then when the flames came together and it made that one big cauldron, the roar was enormous, it was fantastic. And that's my memory of it. It sends shivers down my spine now thinking about it. And I've never actually heard anybody talk about that silence before, but for me that was as much as all the cheering and the shouting as well. That just made the event even doubly special. There were so many sporting highlights. Obviously watching Catherine Granger and Anna Watkins win gold, I have to admit to shedding a bit of a tear at that moment because of the emotion of the moment. An AT4, what a night. I mean, that would be my dream ticket, but what a night. That was beyond my wildest dreams. I'd hoped for 2, I never dreamt of 3 gold medals, and the moment Mo crossed the line was incredible, absolutely incredible. I had my ticket from event team, so I was sat with a few other French people, and one of them was a French coach. And it was quite remarkable. It shows the power of Mo Farah as a runner. For Jess Ennis, he'd sat there taking notes. For Greg Rutherford, he'd sat there taking notes, and for most of the 10,000 metres he just sat there, just observing. But when it got round to the last couple of laps, when everybody else on the stadium were on the feet, he kind of stood up too and started applauding. And then when it came to the final 150 metres, he was yelling and shouting and chasing Mo down the line as much as the rest of us. It really was incredible the way he kind of got overtaken by the power in that moment in the stadium. I mean, that was an atmosphere like I've never felt before. Other highlight has to be a week later back in the stadium for AT15 when Mo won the 5,000 metres. The noise, I often use the phrase audible Mexican wave to describe it because at AT4 the focus hadn't been on his race all the time. Obviously there were lots of other things going on. But for AT15 and the men's 5,000 metre final, it was the only race, only thing anybody was paying any attention to. And the cheering around the stadium just followed the runners around. I'd say like an audible Mexican wave, it was incredible. And I was sat with a couple of tweeps, with Patrick and with Ian Day. And when Mo crossed the line right at the end, we all jumped up and down and did like a big group hug while bouncing up and down. Unfortunately I had my camera around my neck at the time and it smashed into my rib, and I ended up with a bruised rib for about the next 6 weeks, and it was really painful. However, it was worth every moment of pain because that moment was just spectacular. My job takes me down to London a fair amount of the time, so I'd met some of the other tweeps on trips down to London prior to the games. And I remember like the first time I met them I was quite nervous. I was like, who are these people going to be? What are they going to be like? But within about 3 seconds of meeting everybody, I realised everybody was just like me. They just wanted to be part of the biggest thing going ever in this country. And they were all really nice and really friendly, and I got on really well with all of them. It was really good. And I met up with some of them, some different tweeps during the game, and always had a good time. But the main memory I have is actually on the athletes parade after the Paralympics had finished, and we were there, and we kind of met up at a point in London. There were about 7 or 8, maybe 9 of us that day, and some of whom I'd met several times before and become quite good friends with, and others I'd met for the first time. But frankly, it didn't matter. It was just like actually being part of a family, being part of a group that had shared something really good, shared something really special. And that's what I still feel now about the tweeps. We kind of shared a really special event, and we'll always have that together, which is a really lovely thing to be a part of.